want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And
I think that Star Wars is so gay already.
Okay.
We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight? I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Because nerds are gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But in my world, nerds are gay.
Okay.
On the planet of Ueda, a mysterious hooded woman is looking for the Jedi Indara, and from the first minutes, you can feel that the show is going to be lit because Carrie Ann Moss from Matrix
Trinity
is playing one of the Jedis. But I'm skipping too far ahead. First, we're introduced to the weird fighting stance of the villain.
Attack me with all your strength.
And then she starts bashing the creatures around the table for no apparent reason. The fighting sequence is actually quite good and decent in this one. Indara is eventually killed by a cheap shot of the dagger wielder, and even though during the entire fight she was trying to get Indara's lightsaber, she doesn't care about it anymore after killing her. Next we jump onto a spaceship where an identical girl, Osha, is introduced. Which makes you wonder, was it the same person with a bipolar disorder, or is there a twin? Mystery intensifies. To play around with the mystery, creators included some poor dialogue to confuse the viewers even more.
Why didn't you come out last night? You missed a wild trip to Nar Shaddaa with the piloting crew?
Yeah.
Yep.
What I do with my days off is none of your business, Philip.
Then we're shown that on the path of destruction of the Star Wars universe, even physics doesn't stand a chance. An open fire in outer space is a total normal thing to see. That's how sun is burning, right? Jedis then approach the girl, and we learn that she also trained to be a Jedi but left 6 years ago. Again, mystery intensifies. We also learn that her entire family died. Her mothers, yes, plural, mothers, her sister, and everybody else on the planet before she joined the Order. She's accused of killing Jedi Indara. The bartender identifies her as the killer and she's arrested. A suspected Jedi killer is then put on an unmanned spacecraft that is operated and guarded solely by robots. Apparently killing a Jedi is not that big of a deal, she's not that big of a threat, and escaping is highly unlikely. On the planet of Coruscant, we are introduced to the rest of the cast. Sol, the guy from the Squid Game who saved and trained the accused murderer Osha, and Master Venestra, a Jedi who is apparently using her Jedi powers to open the automatic doors.
Dumb bitch.
Not relevant to the story, but worth mentioning is the fact that the actress playing Vernestra is the wife of the show creator Leslie Headland. A bit of nepotism never hurt nobody, I guess. As you have probably guessed, the captives escape thanks to some lazy writing and they leave Osha behind. She then tries to use the Force to get her pocket robot Pip, but fails. Even though she could have just removed her vest and reached him with the help of that. But who am I to judge? After landing on the ice planet Karlak, her master Sol gets the permission to bring her in and follows her to the planet with two Padawans. Jackie, portrayed by Daphne Keane, the bitchin' X-23 from Logan and Deadpool and Wolverine, and Yord. Meanwhile, Osha is having hallucinations of her twin sister May and learns that she's alive and she's the one who actually killed Indara. Mystery not intensifying anymore. On the spacecraft, Jackie, the Padawan and apparently the smartest person in the room, learns from Soul about Osha's twin sister and is curious whether the sister might be involved in the murder. But Soul dismisses this idea immediately, like immediately.
She had a sister.
Yes. She had a twin.
Do you think that...
No. May is dead.
Then, 3 minutes later, once they conveniently find Osha, he's convinced that May is actually alive.
May is alive.
I believe you.
At the end of the first episode, we learn that Acolyte is the one who kills a Jedi without the weapon and kills the dream of the Jedi, whatever the fuck that means. We are also introduced to the antagonist of the show, who just casually pulls out his red lightsaber from his pants to show off, because there obviously wasn't the reason to show it other than Mr. Intensifies. The second episode starts with the bad twin May infiltrating a Jedi temple, and if you thought it's going to be a really difficult task, turns out it's really easy, barely an inconvenience. She uses a kid as a decoy and then throws something on that thing that is sticking out of the building, and she's in. Simple as that. Once in the temple, May is being really careful as not to be seen by the Jedis at first, and then in the next scene, the riders thought fuck that, and she just casually walks past what seems to be yet another Jedi, and nobody gives a fuck. She even has a mask covering her face, and no one gives a shit about that. May finds the boldening Jedi Torbin and asks the question that came first to all of our minds.
According to your file under medications, you have listed neither Rogaine nor minoxidil. Is that correct?
That's right.
Really? You don't want to try either of those?
No. Why?
Actually, she does what she does best, takes a weird stance and says the weird thing she always does.
Attack me with all your strength.
After some shadow boxing and not being able to kill Torbin, May runs away. We are then introduced to May's sidekick, Khmer, who also works for the mysterious red lightsaber-wielding master and provides May with the poison to kill Torbin. May then returns to Torbin, offers him the poison, he gladly accepts it, and fucking dies. Meanwhile, the Team Jedi has also reached the temple, and what doesn't make any sense is the fact that the Jedis, who live in the fucking temple, are taking Soul to Torbin via a longer route, and Osha's hallucination knows the temple better than them. I guess the writers wanted to add some suspense, but what the actual fuck? The incompetent temple Jedis accuse Osha in killing Torbin, but Yord confirms Osha's alibi and everybody's happy. Yord then suggests a plan to ambush May's accomplice Khmer, but this plan is flushed immediately. And then Jackie suggests an even better plan.
I like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Remember, she's the smartest one in the room. She suggests Osha to pretend to be May and get a confession from her sidekick Khmer. Khmer obviously understands that it's not May, but Osha, and instantly sells out May.
If you want to get to her, she'll be back here tonight. I'm holding some things for her.
The plan works and Saul confronts May. Her response? Throw a dagger into his feet. And then attack with all her strength or whatever the fuck her line was. May is obviously no match for the Jedi, considering she killed Indara with a cheap shot and begged Torbin to drink the poison, so Saul beats her ass with ease. The fighting sequence is again quite good, I'll give them that. May learns that Osha is alive and is really surprised. The sisters meet and Osha lets May escape. In the third episode, we travel back in time 16 years to Osha and May's childhood planet Brendok. From the first minutes, you can see that May had inclinations to be a sadistic psychopath.
Let it go, May. Stop! Why do you always have to do things like that?
And Osha was the normal one. There's also a cute little poem that May and Osha have.
Always one, born as two. As above sits the stars, and below lies the sea. I give you you, and you give me me.
And it actually was quite inspiring, so I created a poem of my own about this series. It started out good, and I hope to see more Carrie-Anne Moss, but they killed her in the first episode and gave us all the brain aneurysm. I know it doesn't rhyme, but who cares? We are then introduced to May and Osha's mother, Coril. But then, a couple of seconds later, we are introduced to their second mother, Mother Anisea. Remember? Mothers. Yes, this is no regular planet. This is a lesbian witch planet.
Lesbinims.
We also learned that the witches have magic powers like the Jedi Force, but they call it a thread instead of the Force.
Thread.
And it's not something you yield like the Force, it's something that binds you to others. So basically it's a lesbian witch cult. They also have a chant, the power of one, the power of two, and the power of many.
The power of one. Power of two. The power of many.
So basically what it means is that you can slightly move one witch with your thread, then summon the second witch, make them hold hands and chant the power of two and still be able to push them both. I can't imagine what the power of many can do, probably the same thing. They then conduct a ceremony to induct the girls into the coven and chant their favorite thing.
Power of one. The power of two. The power of many.
We also learned that May's full name is May Ho. Not that it's relevant to the story, but I thought you would like to know that.
Mayho.
Before Osha is inducted, the ceremony is interrupted by the 4 Jedi who express concern that the witches are training children. During the witch brainstorm meeting, Anisea says that Osha is old enough to know what she wants.
She is old enough to know what she wants.
But like 10 minutes ago, she said that Osha doesn't know what she wants because she's a child.
You think you want something different than life in this coven. But that is because you are young.
We also learned that Anisea used some magical voodoo lesbian superpowers to create the girls.
Supersonic, gay kind of powers.
That's apparently frowned upon by the Jedi. Then Anisea remembers who the fuck she is, their mother, and she can teach them whatever the fuck she wants. So she tells them not to follow their heart and do exactly the opposite of what you feel is right.
I don't know what they will ask you. But whatever's in your heart, you must say the opposite.
This is the parenting 101. Long story short, May Ho lies, Osha doesn't lie, then some good parenting from Corel and Anisea, May Ho loses her shit and decides to kill Osha, and that's basically it. Also, let's play a little game called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What are the most flammable materials according to Acolyte TV series? Wood, hay, stone and steel doors, or paper? You are correct. Stone and steel doors. That's why the fire is spreading so easily in the stone building. In the 4th episode, we are on the planet of Kofar, where Mayho and Chimera are looking for the Wookiee Jedi Kelneka. Meanwhile, on the planet of Coruscant Master Venestra is not using the Force to open the automatic doors anymore. She probably realized that they are indeed automatic.
Dumb bitch.
Sol persuades Vernestra to take Osha with them to Kofar to use her to convince May to give information about her master with the red lightsaber. Once on the planet, Sol is being Captain Obvious and repeats exactly the same thing that Jackie said, just with more intensity.
The locals say he ventured off into the forest and never came back.
Kelneka is in there.
We're also introduced to a cute little stinky butt sniffer Basil, who is brought to track down Mayho. Osha meanwhile is showing her true colors and tries to convince anyone who listens that Mayho needs to be killed.
Sol thinks that May can be saved.
You must have reason to suspect May will listen to what you have to say.
But if it comes to it, and she doesn't listen to me, you need to stop her.
That is a true lesbian witch plan, Sister Love.
Lesbinims.
While Osha is becoming more invested in killing her sister, Mayho is rethinking her life choices and decides to abandon her mission and surrender herself to the Jedi.
I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to kill a Jedi without a weapon. I don't need to keep this deal.
What? What I'm going to do is surrender myself to Kelneka, and then turn myself into the Jedi. No.
Mayho finds Kelneka dead and realizes that her master with the red lightsaber is here on the planet. And now when the Jedi tell her to come out to surrender, for some reason she doesn't do it, even though it was exactly her plan to surrender to the Jedi.
Turn myself into the Jedi.
And suddenly Mayho's master arrives in a bitchingly cool manner, flying and shit. For some unknown reason he doesn't kill Osha and attacks the Jedis instead. In the 5th episode, nothing major happens besides some bitchin' fighting sequences, super-powered smiley-faced helmets, boomerang lightsabers, and Dark Master yelling, "I don't give a fuck!" and fucking destroying all the Jedis without breaking a sweat. The fighting sequence is really good, I'll give them that again. Mei-Ho is changing her mind again and instead of surrendering, decides to haul ass from the planet with Kelneka's lightsaber. But badass Jackie manages to subdue her. Meanwhile, Dark Master and Sol are having a fight of their own, but since the Dark Man is on a mission to kill Mei-Ho, he abandons Sol, joins a fight with Jackie, abandons Jackie, and finally catches up with Mei-Ho. Mei-Ho has a very interesting approach to life. First, she decides to put on her big girl pants, become a badass, and wants to kill 4 Jedis to avenge her family of lesbian witches.
Lesbianims.
Even though it was her fucking fire that killed everybody. Then she changes her mind because Osha is alive and decides to go full Judas and betrays her master. After that, the only thing she does is trying to run away. Not trying to find her sister, not trying to help the Jedis to defeat her master. She's trying to run away. To make matters worse, she starts to beg her master.
Forgive me, Master. I was weak.
It's really difficult to like her, and I do have wishful thinking of her master just stabbing her, but unfortunately Sol and Jackie interfere. Jackie then yells the same thing the Dark Man yelled before killing the Jedis.
I don't give a fuck!
And fucking destroys his mask like the real MVP she is. She's the most badass of them all. Hopefully the riders don't kill her off. After the sick fighting sequence, we learn that the Dark Man is Skimir. Shocking. And after some words, let me rephrase that. Empty words between Sol and the Dark Man, Yord enters and shows that he, just like Jackie, is a force to be reckoned with.
I don't give a fuck!
Hopefully the riders don't kill him off, he looks like a real nice lad. Mei-Ho runs off again. What a bitch. But Osha doesn't miss this time. Sol loses his shit and whoops the Dark Man's ass, and just as he's about to kill him, enter Osha. The dark creatures that Osha touched when they first entered the forest take the Dark Man to the Neverland. Mei-Ho then shoots Sol, and the two sisters have a heartwarming talk during which Mei-Ho says words like,
I love you. Don't choose them again. Please choose me.
And Osha does this.
You're a criminal, May. You must pay for your crimes.
In the end, Mei-Ho uses the power of one
Thread.
and decides to steal Osha's identity. Sol wakes up after his nap and is greeted by Mei-Ho disguised as Osha. Darkman finds Osha, says some deep words to fill in the minutes of the screen time.
Even in the revelation of our triumph, you see the depth of our despair.
What?
And it feels like there's going to be a good old switcheroo between Mei-Ho and Osha. In the 6th episode, Osha wakes up in a Darkman's bat cave on an unknown planet. She follows Darkman and peeks from behind the rock as a little creeper. Meanwhile, on the spaceship with Mei-Ho and Sol, the stinky butt sniffer Basil sniffs out something fishy and is being suspicious about Mei-Ho. Sol, meanwhile, is completely unaware of the fact that it's not Osha. Or is he? If previously Osha wanted to kill the Darkman for killing Jackie and Yord, it seems that she's developing a Stockholm syndrome and doesn't mind having a casual talk with him in the Batcave while he cooks what seems to be a toilet bowl soup. After becoming friends, or whatever the fuck the relationship is now, he explains that his helmet is sensory deprivation headpiece, which we all know is a cheap knockoff from the real sensory deprivator, the sensory deprivator 5000.
I call it the sensory deprivator 5000.
Sol realizes at last that it's not Osha, but Mei-Ho, and shoots her in the back, like a true Jedi. After she wakes up, he is ready to spill the beans on what really happened on Brendok, because for 17 years...
17 years!
Okay, it was actually 16 years, he's been keeping it a dirty, nasty secret. Master Vernestra shows off her whip saber, and Osha is being seduced by the smiley-faced helmet guy. In the 7th episode, we again travel back in time 16 years to the lesbian witch planet Brendok.
Lesbianims.
We learned that Brendok was catalogued as a lifeless planet 100 years ago because of a hyperspace disaster, but now it started thriving, meaning that there is force on this planet.
Thread.
Despite the series being filmed 25 years after The Phantom Menace, the CGI of the flying motorcycle remained the same. Sol finds Mei-Ho and Osha in the woods using force and follows them to their hideout by first becoming a Spider-Man and then a mountain climber. The Jedis return to the lesbian and witch coven hideout, and we instantly learn who is the weakest link in the Jedi team. Torbin, the Padawan who wants to go home.
And I want to go home to Coruscant.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So basically it's the third episode of the series through the eyes of the Jedi with slight differences. After Mayhoe and Osha complete the test, we learn that they are not actually twins, but one person whose consciousness was split into two bodies with dark magic.
Supersonic gay kind of powers.
Torben loses his shit after learning that, and since he wants to go home real bad, like real bad, he fucks off into the hideout.
We just need proof of a virgins, and those girls are the proof. This is our ticket home.
Meanwhile, one of the mamas, Mama Coral, does some good parenting with Mayhoe and tells her to get mad and that it will somehow stop Osha from leaving.
Good girl. Get mad.
These witches really shouldn't raise any kids. We also learned that Mayhoe is not really bright in physics and is really surprised that the book she set on fire actually started burning. But at least now we learned that Mayhoe didn't set Osha on fire on purpose, but because of her stupidity.
Dumb bitch.
Then we are blessed again with some lazy writing. Mayhoe runs in asking for help after setting fire. Mother Coral with her short fuse takes this as an act of aggression from the Jedi side. Mother Anisea turns into dust as a response, and Sol kills her for that. Lesbian witches then get into the head of Chewbacca, who turns out to be the second weakest link on the Jedi team.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Indara then penetrates the mind of Chewbacca, and despite what the witches have been bragging about, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, turns out to be as useless as I thought. She easily defeats the coven of the lesbian witches that have been messing around with Kelnaka's head, and apparently fucking kills them with her force.
Thread.
Sol then runs to save the twins, and instead of using his force to lift up the girls, he's holding the broken bridges instead. Because of the incompetence, he obviously can't hold both of them and makes an executive decision to save only Osha and let Mayhoe burn in hell. Sol then wants to stand before the council to accept his punishment for killing the lesbian witches, but Indara proposes another path, the path of the Jedi, if you will. To lie and blame everything on Mayhoe because she's dead already, which Sol happily accepts.
They started a fire.
Ooh, you lying ass bitch!
In the 8th and the final episode of this magnificent show, Osha is slowly being seduced by the dark side by having smiley face mask on her head. She sees a future in which Mayhoe kills Sol with a lightsaber, which gives the Dark Man a new hope that she might actually kill a Jedi with no weapon. So Osha and the Dark Man decide to team up and go to Mayhoe. Osha wants to change the future by saving her, and the Dark Man wants to push her and kill Sol. What a healthy partnership they are forming. Meanwhile, Sol is spilling the beans to the handcuffed Mayhoe when she suddenly escapes. It's ironic that the last words she tells him is the exact same thing he did to her with his executive decision when he let her die.
See you in hell, Jedi.
After that, an exciting spaceship chase breaks out, and just as Sol was about to apparently shoot down Mayhoe, the butt sniffer Basil intervenes. Now, what confuses me is that exactly 3 minutes ago, Sol told Mayhoe that his biggest regret was that he couldn't save them both.
My biggest regret is that I wasn't able to save you both.
And now, he decides to fucking kill her. The Dark Man is trying to entice Osha to join the dark side again by becoming his apprentice, but she declines. When they take off, some Palpatine-looking dude is speaking from the cave. Mystery intensifies. The planet that Mayhoe's ship crashed on is Brendok. Not at all suspicious. Sol is there, Osha is there, the Dark Man is there, and Mayhoe is there. Osha manages to open the door by short-circuiting it, even though 16 years ago Mayhoe destroyed the panel from inside and yelled confidently,
No one can get in or out!
So that was a fucking lie.
Sol and the Dark Man pull out their lightsabers to measure whose is bigger, and some slow-mo scenes are added as well. If Darth Maul had one of the coolest scenes when revealing his double-sided lightsaber, the Dark Man had something else to counter it. While Sol and the Dark Man are having quite decent fighting sequence, Mayhoe and Osha have also finally met. If you look closely, you can actually see the symbolism in their clothing. Mayhoe is now in white, meaning she is the yang, and Osha is in the dark, meaning she is the yin. The symbolism. Just as there was a good old switcheroo in Masters, it feels like there's going to be a good old switcheroo in the souls of the main characters. After Mayhoe tells the truth about Sol killing one of their mothers, Osha loses her shit and attacks her. To make the fighting sequence a bit cooler, a slow-mo is added as well. Sol defeats the Dark Man, but Mayhoe intercepts, breaks his saber, and makes him confess to the murder of their mother, which Osha overhears. I actually kinda start to like Sol. Hopefully the writers won't kill him off. After losing her shit and killing Sol, The saber that Meiho threw away and Osha picked up turns red for some apparent reason. Automatic door-wielding Vernestra meanwhile has arrived on the planet and started searching for Osha, Meiho and the Dark Man. They come up with the plan that Osha will go train with Dark Man and he will erase Meiho's memories in return. After getting back onto Coruscant, Vernestra blames Sol for everything. The climate change, the dangerous levels of obesity in the United States, and also the murder of the witches and other Jedis. The Dark Man was the pupil of the automatic door-wielding Vernestra, and she wants to use amnesia-troubled Meiho to find him. The Dark Man and Osha are turning into a cute evil couple, and it seems that the Dark Man has actually scored a deuce with both of the lesbian witches.
Lesbinims.
They're both looking into the distance, probably to see whether there will be a second season or not. They also show Yoda. So basically, if I had to sum up the show, its premise would be lying, not following your heart, miscommunication is key, lesbian and witches, and incompetent Jedis.